It's that time again. Steve here with Geek Boulevard. Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, welcome. I hope you're doing well. Did you do something for yourself today? Did you go see Scream 7? I did, and man, that was something. Let's dig that knife just a little bit deeper and find out if Scream 7 is a sequel that deserves your attention. Be advised that this review will contain spoilers, but of course I've included timestamps down below, and I will always give you a fair warning before going into those spoilers. So for now, you're spoiler free. Don't worry, I got you. Scream 7 is directed by Kevin Williamson. It is rated R with a runtime of 1 hour and 54 minutes. When a new ghost-faced killer emerges in the quiet town where Sydney has built a new life, her darkest fears are realized as her daughter becomes the next target. Determined to protect her family, she must face the horrors of her past to put an end to the bloodshed once and for all. Of course, like we always do here, we try to find the good things in a movie first and talk about those positive aspects. And Scream 7 does have some good things going for it. So let's talk about the good. First and foremost, the violence. The caliber in which a lot of these characters meet their demise is probably the most graphic depiction of it ever in a Scream movie. I've never winced as much as I did in Scream 7. I don't want to spoil anything when it comes to those moments, but it's safe to say, yeah, this is the most violent Scream out of all of them. And I certainly was all for it. But those violent kills are only as good as the tension leading up to them. And I think Scream 7 does a pretty good job of that as well. There's always a light being turned off, something being unplugged, or footsteps in another room, like a dark silhouette in a dark corner. Things like that that force a character to go investigate, which you obviously never do, but this is a slasher movie. It's all par for the course. But Ghostface is always just lurking around the corner, peeking through the tarp, just ever so gently, waiting to pounce and use his trusty knife to really drive home that fear in your eyes, to really just disembowel your guts and all of that. Like, does it feel a little formulaic and cliche? Sure, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't my favorite part of the franchise. Do these qualities help elevate this movie to make it, dare I say, the best Scream ever? No. In fact, it's the worst one. Yes, Scream 4, you have been dethroned. Congratulations. Don't be too proud though. Now, it's no surprise that the film had some production issues, we should say, going into it. A change in director and its two lead stars, Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega, who were supposed to be the future of the franchise, but ended up being dropped from the film. And that whole storyline was basically just put to the side. The New York setting was referenced a little bit in this one, but those characters are obviously not mentioned a single time in this. So it left the production in a little bit of a pickle with this 7th chapter. So how do you go about tackling a story when your two lead stars are gone and your director walks away? Well, you bring back some legacy characters, really get that nostalgia bait going, and we got Sidney Prescott back, baby. Well, you know, after Neve Campbell got her salary dispute taken care of, but yeah, she's back. But not only that, her grown daughter gets thrown into the mix of it as well. I did not like the way the film was trying to set up Sydney's daughter as like the face of the franchise going forward by having her essentially go through the same type of scenario that Sydney did in the first movie at her age. She's not a very well-developed character, and I just thought she was very flat and boring. There just wasn't anything interesting about her other than the fact that she's Sidney Prescott's daughter. This next part is going into spoiler territory, so this is going to be your spoiler warning. You can skip this section entirely if you want to by going to the timestamps I've included down below, or you can stick around if you're not a stickler for spoilers. I honestly feel like you're not going to care once I say what I'm going to say, because it's just that underwhelming. But anyway, this is your spoiler warning. You have been warned. Now, the big question on everyone's mind, pretty much ever since the first movie came out, was, is Stu Macher really alive? Because there's that whole theory going around that Stu never really died, and we know the classic rule that if you don't shoot the killer in the head, they're just not dead. There's no way that they can die. Stu had a TV fall on his head, he was electrocuted, but he wasn't shot in the head. So people just kept going on with this theory that Stu Macher really survived, and he basically was orchestrating things behind the scenes while being in a mental hospital, that he had a whole cult of Ghostface copycat killers doing his bidding, all to punish Sidney Prescott. And I got behind that theory. I actually thought it was a pretty cool theory, but the question is, was that actually going to be the case? And Kevin Williamson has been known to not really be a fan of that Stu Macher theory. He always wanted Stu Macher to be dead. And we do know that Matthew Lillard was actually in Scream 2 as a background actor, just had a different hairstyle or a different hair color, and he was supposed to be in Scream 3, but that just ended up not panning out. So this film is essentially one big answer to that question of, is Stu Macher really alive? And in short, no, he's not. That's pretty much where you're just gonna have to accept. I had to accept it too. I'm not fond of how they went about it. So let's get into some of the details. How Stu Macher was brought back in this movie, though, is easily the worst way to bring a legacy character back, especially such a beloved one like Stu Macher is and Matthew Lillard is. The film goes into how AI can fake anything nowadays, and it's gotten to the point where AI has become so believable that you genuinely think that what you're seeing is real. And at first they were kind of like going along that path of AI, and I actually kind of liked the angle they were going with it, and I thought, okay, let's see how this goes in the final act. Usually something like that would probably tend to stumble, but maybe they can knock it out of the park, we'll see. And no, they didn't. AI was used to create a Stu Macher clone, essentially. It makes Sidney believe that he never really died and was just put into a mental hospital. Not only that, but there's one scene in the film that brings back even more legacy characters using AI. And the way that these cameos came about, it just felt very lazy, tacked on, and it was literally just a bunch of actors in front of a green screen saying a few lines. And I'll go in order of appearance. It was Nancy Loomis from Scream 2. They also brought back Dewey, who unfortunately met his fate in Scream 5, or just Scream as it's called. And they also had Roman come back from Scream 3 as well. I just don't understand why this was even included, because there was no really interesting setup into getting to that short little scene. It just was like cameo after cameo after cameo. As for Matthew Lillard, it seemed like all he had to do was take an iPhone, record a few videos of himself threatening Sidney, because Stu Macher comes on FaceTime in the film every few scenes to taunt Sidney Prescott, and I just don't understand why Matthew Lillard even decided to come back for this movie. This just felt like a very cheap way to bring Stu Macher back and to answer that question of, is Stu Macher really dead? It to me feels like Matthew Lillard was just doing it for a paycheck, and that disappoints me. But not only that, when we get to the reveal of who the actual killers are, it is so extremely underwhelming, because these characters, they're only seen once or twice in the movie, and then you don't see them again for like the entire second half of the film, up until that final moment when you get the reveals of those characters and you think, huh? These two? I honestly don't remember the character's name, but one of them is a friend of Sidney's who was in like maybe 2 scenes earlier on in the film, and she said she was inspired by Sidney's survival and how she killed her own husband, and now she's a Ghostface killer? It doesn't quite compute. It doesn't line up. And then you have the other character who was only in 1 scene, and he was the one that actually created the AI construct of Stu Macher, and it just felt so unearned, disappointing, lackluster, whatever negative adjective you can really think of, and just throw it in there. It was the most underwhelming reveal out of the entire Scream franchise, I would say. It's funny how the creator of Scream writes and directs the 7th installment in his own franchise and ruins the legacy of his own characters this badly. Stu Macher was completely disrespected here, and I don't understand how and why Matthew Lillard said yes to this other than money. In conclusion, I'm going to give Scream 7 a score of 2 out of 5. The kills are definitely more violent than in past Scream movies, and the effective use of tension building up to those moments works really well. But it's not enough to save this mess of a film with pure nostalgia bait that comes across as extremely lazy and ruins the characters it helped to create. It is easily the worst film in the franchise, and I hope this closes the book on Scream for good. But I don't think that's going to be the case. There's already talks of an 8th one being thrown around. Look, I wish I had better news for you. Scream deserves better than this, truly. But those are my thoughts, and now I want to know what you guys thought of Scream 7. I would love to know your verdict on it. Do you feel the same as I do about this film, about the franchise as a whole? Do you think it just needs to kind of be put on the back burner? It was put on the back burner before Scream 4 came into the picture, but now I feel like it needs to just go on ice for much longer than that. Comment down below, and while you're at it, feel free to give the video a like and put my channel into that crazy algorithm that is called YouTube. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and turn the bell icon on for more videos that have to do with movie reviews and trailer reactions. That's my specialty. I thank you guys also so much for watching. Make sure to take care of yourself, drink water, be merry, be happy, be healthy, and until next time, stay classy, stay geeky, and I'll catch you in the next video.
He's dead. You need to make sure you shoot him in the head.
I'm gonna burn it all down.
Mother!
This is gonna be fun.